Auditor's report to the members of Stanbic IBTC Holdings PLC. Report on the audit of the consolidated and separate financial statements. Our opinion. In our opinion, the consolidated and separate financial statements give a true and fair view of the consolidated and separate financial position of Stanbic IBTC Holdings PLC, the company, and its subsidiaries, together the group, as at 31 December 2023, and of their consolidated and separate financial performance and their consolidated and separate cash flows for the year then ended in accordance with international financial reporting standards and the requirements of the Companies and Allied Matters Act and the Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria Amendment Act 2023. This report was signed by myself, Choma Obaro, and is dated 13 February 2024 for PricewaterhouseCoopers Chartered Accountants, Lagos, Nigeria, with ICANN number 17333. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I will now call on a member of the Audit Committee to read the Audit Committee's report for the financial year ended 31st December 2023.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. The report of the Audit Committee is on page 218. Yes. Report of the Audit Committee to the members of Stanbic IBTC Holdings PLC. In compliance with the provisions of Section 404 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020, the Audit Committee considered the audited, consolidated, and separate annual financial statement for the year ended 31 December 2023, together with the management controls report from the auditors and the company's response to this report at its meeting held on 1st of February 2024. In our opinion, the scope and planning of the audit for the year ended 31 December 2023 were adequate. We have exercised our statutory functions under Section 404, subsection 7 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act of Nigeria, and acknowledge the cooperation of management and staff in the conduct of these responsibilities. We are of the opinion that the accounting and reporting policies of the company and the group are in accordance with legal requirements and agreed ethical practices, and that the scope and planning of both the external and internal audits for the year ended 31st December 2023 were satisfactory and reinforced the group's internal control systems. After due consideration, the Audit Committee accepted the report of the auditors that the financial statements were in accordance with ethical practice and international financial reporting standards. The committee reviewed management response to the auditor's findings in respect of management matters, and we are satisfied with management's response thereto. We are satisfied that the company has complied with the provisions of Central Bank of Nigeria Circular BSD/1/2004, dated 18 February 2004, on disclosure of insider-related credits in the financial statements of banks, as contained in Note 38 of the financial statements. The committee also approved the provision made in the consolidated and separate annual financial statements in relation to the remuneration of the auditors. Signed on behalf of the Audit Committee by Samuel Ayininola, the chairman of the Audit Committee.
Thank you very much. Board and Corporate Governance Evaluation. Central Bank of Nigeria's Corporate Governance Guidelines for Banks in Nigeria specifies that there should be an annual review appraisal covering all aspects of board structure and composition, responsibilities, processes, and relationships, and individual members' competencies and respective roles in the board's performance. The Nigerian Code of Corporate Governance also requires that the company undertakes an annual evaluation of its board and corporate governance structures. The aim of the board evaluation is to assess how the board and board committees are committed to their roles, work together, and continue to contribute effectively to the achievement of the company's objectives, while the corporate governance evaluation is aimed at institutionalizing the system for assessing the company's corporate governance practices to ensure that its governance standards, practices, and processes are adequate and effective. A summary of this report is to be presented at the AGM. I would now like to invite Messrs. Ernst & Young to handle this review, to make a summary presentation.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. The report of external consultants on the board performance evaluation of Stanbic IBTC can be found on page 197 of the annual general reports. With your permission, sir, and the permission of the shareholders, I would like to read an abridged version.
Yes.
All right. We have performed the evaluation of the board of Stanbic IBTC Holdings PLC for the year ended 31st December 2023 in accordance with the guidelines of Section 10.1 of the Central Bank of Nigeria's Corporate Governance Guidelines 2023, Section 15.1 of the Securities and Exchange Commission Code of Corporate Governance for Public Companies in Nigeria 2014, and Section 14.1 of the Financial Reporting Council Code of Corporate Governance NCCG 2018. On the basis of our work, the board of Stanbic IBTC Holdings PLC has complied with the Central Bank of Nigeria Corporate Governance Guideline 2023, SEC Code of Corporate Governance for Public Companies in Nigeria, FRC Code of Corporate Governance 2018 during the year ended 31st December 2023. Signed for Ernst & Young, myself, Abiodun Ogunoike, Associate Partner and Financial Services Risk Management Leader for West Africa. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Distinguished shareholders, with your kind permission, can I ask that the chairman's statement as contained in the annual report to shareholders for the year ended 31st December, taken as read. Thank you. Thank you. I believe shareholders have had the opportunity to read the director's report, the audited financial statement for the year ended 31st December 2023, the auditor's report thereon, which accompanied the notice of meeting and which documents are now laid down before you at today's meeting. I would like to ask for questions or comments from the floor. If you have a question, please raise your hand and a microphone will be brought to you. I'd like to ask you to, before you ask your question, give your name clearly so that the company secretary can record it. I will also ask that the questions be brief so that we can give other people an opportunity. Who has the microphone? Okay, let's start from here.
The chairman of Stanbic IBTC Holdings PLC, the directors here present and those online, my fellow shareholders, the regulator, I say good morning to all. Mr. Chairman, we are very happy at the statement. My name is Patrick Ajudua. We are glad that, as you have indicated your interest to exit, it has been a successful story so far since your assumption of leadership of this bank. We thank God and we appreciate the GMD to Mr. Demola for his level of hard work and also the company secretary for a very good organization of the AGM. I want to commend your office. I was there at your office, a new magnificent building. I have never seen it before. We commend you and we thank you for putting up that good structure. I will encourage my fellow shareholders to do well and give full support to all the resolutions because they are in our best interest. I want to commend the exceptional performance of the bank, which saw the gross earning grew to 461 billion on page 228 to 230. It reflects the commitment to deliver value to stakeholders despite a difficult macroeconomic challenges, and which underscores the board's commitment to sustain growth, innovation, and a responsible corporate governance. Mr. Chairman, my question is taken from your statements, which is to ask you, going by our strong financial performance in 2023, how do you hope to sustain this positive growth trajectory in a situation that we have seen so far, where inflation has reached the highest in 28 years to 33.69%, an increase in MPC rates, forex instability, and a worsening economic policy? On page 320, Mr. Chairman, I want to commend the dividend declaration of 2 naira 20 kobo and an interim dividend you have given us of 1.7, bringing the total to 3 naira 70 kobo. Please, let's give a round of applause to the board and management of the bank. You have done well because you have enabled me to pay the school fees of my children. I thank you very much. And we know that before we go, you will start receiving the alert by the grace of God. On page 33, Mr. Chairman, what is your 2024 outlook? As the bank, how do you hope to drive improved transaction volume across the digital channels and earnings from the non-banking subsidiaries? One of the things we are considering this morning is the issue of recapitalization. As shareholders, we welcome the new minimum capital requirement for banks' capitalization. This will engender the emergence of a healthy bank with the capacity to underwrite larger credits within the domestic economy. But unlike 2005, the new minimum capital requirement only apply to paid up capital and share premium, excluding retained earnings. The shareholders are not happy with this development, and we want to call on CBN to align a new capital requirement with industry practices in order to ensure a seamless transaction. There is need to minimize the impact of capitalization on job loss, ensure fairness and protection of the workers, and adequate remuneration of those who will find their way off. And for your information, I know our share capital stood at 109, and we are in need to meet up the 200 billion requirements. On page 138, on the risk management, we have seen the charge on page 44 of the net impairment charges on financial assets, which rose significantly to about 15 billion. What are we doing to improve our enterprise risk management? We are not unmindful that the NPL ratio is still within the range of 2.35, which is very good. Mr. Chairman, on page 302 and 303, financial contribution of the consolidated/subsidiaries entity. There is need to give us a prior year comparison. When you check the account, I was looking out for that in order to be able to judge our performance. But nevertheless, I commend the contribution of Stanbic IBTC pension, which rose to about 25 billion, and Stanbic IBTC asset management, underneath, its contribution rose to about 7.1 billion. But I'm a little bit worried about the following subsidiaries. One is the Zest Payments Limited, has a negative contribution of about 1.2 billion, and which is worrisome. The next is the Stanbic IBTC Venture, for as low as 100 Stanbic IBTC stockbrokers. These three subsidiaries needed to be able to accord themselves the need to improve their performance. On a final note, Mr. Chairman, I am on a happy note that you have led the board on a very positive way. Your tenure saw them achieve greater objective in streamlining the corporate governance function, accentuating productivity, and also dividend payments. You are a real team player, a father figure, and an epitome of inspirational leadership. Today, Chairman will celebrate you because you are also very much gender sensitive, a man of great humility, gentility, advocacy, diplomacy, dexterity, and of course, Mr. Chairman, empathy. Today, we thank God for your life. We appreciate you, and we ask God to continue to bless you in your future endeavor. Thank you, and God bless you.
Amen. Now it's a lady. A lady.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, all the board members, the regulatory authorities, my fellow distinguished shareholders. My name is Barrister Adetutu Shinobola. I'm the president of Highly Favored Shareholders Association of Nigeria. Mr. Chairman, I have some observations, comments, questions, and suggestions on our annual reports. With your kind permission, I will quickly run through them. When I marry results for the period on page 13 with the operating results and dividends relating to group performance on page 180, I observe that we have an excellent performance in the year under review, and I want to seize this opportunity to give kudos to the board and the management for a job well done, and implore you to do more. On page 14 to 16, the beautiful faces and the profile of the board of directors. I observe that we have 5 ladies in the board of 11 directors, which amounts to 45%. This is commendable. Please keep it up. When I marry the recognition on page 25 to 27 with awards and recognitions on page 136, I observe that we have numerous outstanding awards to accredit in the year under review. This is highly commendable. Please keep it up. On page 56 to 58, the beautiful faces of our executive committee. I observe that we have only 6 ladies in the management team of 25 members, which amount to 24%. This is unacceptable on gender balancing. We have to improve on it going forward. On page 181 and 182, substantial interest in shares. I observe that we have a major shareholder with the minority shareholders in our company in the year under review. I would like to know who is representing the minority shareholders in our board. On page 182, details of directors' shareholdings, direct or indirect, excluding directors holding substantial interest. I observe that only 4 directors have our shares attached to their names directly or indirectly in the year under review. I want to know why. I would like to know why we excluded the directors holding substantial interest from this list. On page 185 and 186, item K, donations and charitable gifts. I observe that our CSR in the year under review centered on health, education, social welfare, and community development. Next time, we should extend it to youth empowerment. From page 199 to 210, attendance at board meetings and board committee meetings. I observe an 100% attendance in the year under review. This is commendable as well. Please keep it up. On page 228 and 229, consolidated and separate statements of financial position. Permit me to limit myself to the group position. Loans and advances went up from 1.2 trillion naira to 2.04 trillion naira in the year under review. What are the modalities in place to collect this debt from our customers to the barest minimum so that it will not end up as a bad loan that will be written off? Other borrowings went up from 187.9 billion naira to almost 376 billion naira in the year under review. How do we intend to pay this debt to our creditors? Lastly, I observe that we have utilized this annual report judiciously to advertise all our subsidiaries and all our products and services. This is commendable. Please keep it up. Thanks, and God bless you richly. Support, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate it, sir.
Thank you. I will take one, then we will answer, we'll respond to those ones, then I will do a second round. And then it will be done. Sonny Wosu.
Mr. Chairman of the board, I'm sorry I have to sit down because of health requirements. I have just 2 questions. I believe we are all hungry in this country, and emphasis should be on agricultural development in this country. I don't know why this board spent about 325 million naira on tree planting. Are we going to be chewing stick from the tree or what? So I think we have to change our policies. Tree planting should not take more recognition than agricultural development in this country. Let me quickly refer you to the page. I'm sorry, this is very bulky. My strength may not be able to carry the annual report, but it's in one of the pages of the annual report that first we spent in Ebonyi State. We planted 2,200 trees. And then in another state, we planted, all come together to 325 million naira. I think, I'm sure when shareholders are going through the annual report, you would have seen that. But I do not want to waste the time of this meeting, and therefore, the second one is the exposure to AMCON. What are we doing to AMCON? Why must we be paying so much money to AMCON year in, year out? Bankers Committee must take a decision on this AMCON issue because it's becoming a canker worm on us. All this money put together would have given us a better dividend if you look at the price of your shares in the market, you know that the equitable dividend you have given to us is not 2 naira plus. You should have given us more so that we can all enjoy our investment in this South African bank. So I think a better consideration should be given on dividend policy. So I don't know whether you have seen it, so I don't need to bother myself going through it. Okay. Apart from that, we respect Stanbic and IBTC very well, and therefore every income coming from there must be matched with the respect we have for the bank. And we need a better dividend. I recall that in one of my active periods, I had a meeting with you and you gave us a special dividend. So you can as well do the same with IBTs by giving us a special dividend so that we can all rejoice. Since bonus is not forthcoming. So, and you know the people you are serving, they see bonus as splitting the shares. Definitely it splits the shares, but at the end of the day, it gives you more capitalization because it doesn't reduce the cost of the shares. We still make the market, and we are actually the owners, and you must do everything to please us, to make sure we are happy every time. So I have desisted from talking too much, but they say a word is enough for the wise. So I want to thank you for even recognizing my name and calling me to talk. Thank you very much, and God bless all of us. Once again, my name is Sir Sonny Nwosu, the Emeritus of Shareholders. So,
thank you. I would like answers to those questions because they are very far-reaching, and there were a lot of comments. You won't get response to the comments. Thank you for the commendations. The bank will always continue to strive to do its best. On the executive committee, yes, indeed, we are working hard on improving diversity, and I'm sure that will come. On tree planting, I can tell you if we actually successfully plant a lot of trees, then we will not invest a lot of money in taking out carbon from our factories. So it is a very good investment for the climate. I will now ask Demola to respond to those questions as quickly as you can. So we'll see if we can take another.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. And I would like to thank the shareholders for all your commendations and all the encouragement that you've continued to give us. Based on questions from Mr. Patrick Ajidwa, you wanted to know, as part of your questions, you wanted to know the outlook of the business for the year 2024. And what I can say is that we've got what we can call, a list of items that we've sent out in terms of guidance, and what we are hoping for this year 2024. I mean, we are in the month of May. We are guiding to the fact that when it comes to return on equity, we should be able to stay within about 25 to 30%. And when it comes to cost to income ratio, our guidance is for 50 to 55%. When it comes to net interest margin, our guidance is from 4% to 4.5%. For cost of risk, which is more or less like the credit loss ratio, we believe we should be able to stay below 3%. When it comes to CASA ratio is current and savings account as a percentage of total deposit liabilities. We are thinking that we should be able to deliver above 75% this year, 2024. For non-performing loan ratio, we would stay below 5%. And when it comes to, because you've also asked one or two questions regarding some of our subsidiaries. For customer deposit growth in 2024, our guidance is for us to grow by between 25 to 30%. And for gross loan, we are thinking that we should be able to deliver between 20 to 25% growth rate for gross loan. Then for asset under management, we call it AUM growth rate. This year, we think we should be able to grow our asset under management in our 2 or 3 key subsidiaries by about 25%. And you've also asked questions concerning non-performing loan, the figure, that you've seen in the publication. The important thing, that I would like to mention here is that we are always very conservative. We are always very proactive when it comes to identifying, any facility, any credit that is stressed. And so what we do is to follow, the IFRS guidelines and to identify them and to make provision. However, the absolute figure is not the main issue. The main issue is the ratio. The ratio is NPL ratio, non-performing loan as a percentage of the total loan portfolio. And if you look at it, the guidance from Central Bank is for us to keep it below 5%. For us in 2023, we've kept it around 2-point-something%. That is, the key, and that is the important thing we need to bear in mind. You are right in terms of, the observations that you made concerning 2 or 3 of our subsidiaries that are contributing to the bottom line of the group. However, I would like to point out that, our latest kid on the block, we've got 11 subsidiaries. Zest Payments Limited is the latest kid on the block. And as a fintech, they will still go through a process or a period of investment. So the figure you are seeing, part and parcel of just trying to continue to invest in that business. Very soon, the business, just like any of all our subsidiaries, that business will start to add to the bottom line. It is very important for us to bear that in mind. The other subsidiaries, they didn't have a good year last year. And maybe our one of the other subsidiaries, maybe Stockbroking, also didn't have a good year last year. But what the important thing for us to mention here has to do with the diversity of our businesses. Because if one is not doing well, another one will perform very well. And that is the resilience that we've built into Stanbic IBTC Holdings PLC. So we've got the bank, and we've got other subsidiaries. Every year, we will see 5, 6, or 7 of our subsidiaries that will perform very, very well, excellently well, so that we can delight shareholders and we can delight everybody. I would like to stop here and hand over back to the chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. I will take just 2 questions. Okay. By popular demand, no more questions. Thank you. I'll now call on the Company Secretary to read out the proposed resolution to be passed to present the Director's report and audited financial statements to the House.
That the report of the Directors and the audited financial statements for the period ended 31 December 2023, now presented, be and are hereby received.
Thank you. I hereby move the motion for the adoption of this resolution. And I call on someone from the floor to second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for this opportunity. The name is William Sadibayo. I rise to second that motion.
Thank you. Are the register ready? Okay. We now vote. I will call on us, on shareholders to vote by raising your right hand. All shareholders voting in favor of the motion, please raise your right hand. Thank you. All shareholders who are voting against the motion, please raise your right hand. Based on the vote, I declare the resolution has been carried. Declaration of dividend. As you are aware, your directors are recommending that a final dividend of 220 kobo per ordinary share of 50 kobo be paid to shareholders registered in the register of shareholders as at close of business Friday, 19th April 2024. The dividend, if approved, will be paid latest Friday, 17th May 2024. The company secretary will read out the resolution.
That a final dividend of 220 kobo per ordinary share of 50 kobo recommended by the Board of Directors in the audited financial statements presented to shareholders be and is hereby approved and payable latest on Friday, 17 May 2024 to shareholders whose names appear on the register of shareholders as at close of business on 19 April 2024.
Thank you. I hereby call on the shareholders to move the motion. The lady.
My name is Alaja Sarata Iyabode Balogun. I rise to second that motion.
No, to move the motion.
I rise to move the motion.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much, sir. I am Honorable Kola Alaga. But before I second the motion, Mr. Chairman, okay, I want us to appreciate the people that baked the cake we want to share. Mr. Chairman, we need to appreciate the manager of the subsidiaries and that of the company. They baked the cake we want to share today, so we should appreciate them. So on this note, Mr. Chairman, shareholder, give them a good round of applause. That's good. Let's recognize them. Okay, on that note, Mr. Chairman, I second the motion.
Thank you. Shareholders should please vote by raising your right hand. All shareholders in favor of the motion, please raise your right hand. And all shareholders voting against the motion, please raise your right hands. Based on the vote, I declare the resolution has been carried. Re-election of retiring directors. May we now proceed to the next item on the agenda, which is the re-election of retiring directors. In accordance with Section 285 of the Company and Allied Matters Act 2020, aside from myself, the following directors: Mr. Adekunle Adedeji, Mrs. Ukendile Uwaje Bego, Dr. Salamatu Suleiman are retiring by rotation. As I had noted in my opening remark at this commencement of this meeting, I will not be seeking re-election and will therefore be retiring at the conclusion of this annual general meeting. However, all the three directors being eligible are offering themselves for re-election. I would like to propose that the voting for the re-election of these directors should be taken in a single resolution. Can I therefore have someone second this resolution?
Thank you, my able chairman. I, Prince Awosaya, so second, all the way from Ramos, that constituency.
Thank you. Shareholders should please vote by raising your right hands. All shareholders voting in favor of the motion, please raise your right hand. And all those voting against the resolution, the motion, please raise your right hand. Based on the vote, I declare that the resolution has been carried. The company secretary should now read out the text of the resolution that your board is recommending. No, but They've already voted. But what of the vote we just conducted and the majority said we should take it all in one vote? Okay. Okay. All right, then you have to read out resolution one by one.
So in line with the requirements of the Companies and Allied Matters Act, we shall take the resolutions one after the other. The first director, Mr. Adekunle Adedeji. The resolution states thus, that Mr. Adekunle Adedeji, who retires in accordance with Section 285 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020, be and is hereby re-elected as a director.
Now it's time to vote. Those who are voting in favor of the resolution, please raise your right hands. And those voting against the resolution, raise your right hand. I hereby declare the resolution carried.
The second resolution, that Mrs. Nkem Delim Mwaje Behu, who retires in accordance with Section 285 of CAMA 2020, be and is hereby re-elected as a director.
Thank you. Those who are voting in favor of the resolution, please raise your right hands. And those voting against the resolution, please raise your right hand. Based on the vote, I declare the resolution carried.
The third, that Dr. Salamatu Suleiman, who retires in accordance with Section 285 of CAMA, be and is hereby re-elected as a director. Dr. Suleiman is attending virtually.
Those who are voting in support of the resolution, please raise your right hands. Thank you. And those who are voting against the resolution, raise your right hands. Based on result, I declare the resolution carried. Disclosure of managers' remuneration. As required by Section 257 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020, the company is required to disclose the remuneration of its managers annually at the AGM. I will now call on the Executive Director and Chief Financial Officer, Mr. Adekunle Adedeji, to read out the disclosure requirement for noting by this meeting.
May I please refer shareholders to note 38.4, 1 of the annual financial statement, which is on page 373 of the annual report, where you find the total remuneration paid to managers of the company for the year ended 31st December 2023. Pursuant to Section 257 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020, I hereby disclose for noting by shareholders that the remuneration of managers of the company for the year 2023 was 4.733 billion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's for noting. The company's external auditors, Messrs. PricewaterhouseCoopers, have indicated their willingness to continue in office as the company and group's external auditors. Accordingly, in accordance with Section 481 of CAMA, we are proposing a resolution authorizing directors to fix their remuneration for 2024. The Secretary should now read out the resolution relating to the auditor's appointment and remuneration.
That the directors be and are hereby authorized to fix the remuneration of the external auditors for the 2024 financial year.
Thank you. I hereby call on someone to second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Pastor Lagoke Samson Olusegun. I so second.
Thank you. Shareholders should vote by raising their right hands. All shareholders in favor of the motion, please raise your right hands. Thank you. All shareholders who are voting against the motion, please raise your right hands. Based on the vote, I declare the resolution has been carried. Audit Committee. As required by Section 404 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020, the Statutory Audit Committee shall consist of 5 members, 2 of whom shall be directors of the company, and 3 shall be shareholders' representatives. The directors represented on the Statutory Audit Committees are Dr. Babatunde Omotawa and Mr. Balama Manu. In this regard, the Secretary has advised that only 3 nominations were finally received, with the registrars validly confirming as registered shareholders. May I now call on the Secretary to read out the names of the persons whom you will be required to vote at this meeting as members of the Audit Committee.
Mr. Sam Ayinuola, Mr. Ibade George, and Mr. Tunji Bamidele.
May I also ask the representative of the registrars to come forward and confirm the names of the 3 shareholders whose nominations are not being opposed as members of the Statutory Audit Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We confirm that we received 3 valid nominations to the position of Audit Committee for the financial year 2024. Thank you.
Thank you. Following that confirmation by the registrars, I hereby declare that Messrs. Sam Ayinuola, Ibade George, and Tuji Bamilele are hereby elected members of the Audit Committee until the next annual general meeting. Thank you. We shall now move to the special business of today's meeting. As the first resolution under the special business relates to an item in which I'm personally interested, given that the director's fees are only paid to non-executive directors, may I call on Dr. Demola Shogunle, our Chief Executive, to chair the section of the meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. May I call on the company's secretary to read the resolution specified in the notice of meeting, which relates to the director's remuneration and represents the totality of the amounts paid to non-executive directors, other than sitting allowances and reimbursable expenses.
That the director's fees for the year ending 31 December 2024 be and is hereby fixed at 653 million.
I hereby move the motion and call on someone to second the motion, who should state his or her name clearly so that it can be noted by the secretary. The woman. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. My name is Honorable Balogun Oluwatoyin. I move the motion.
No,
I second it.
Yeah.
I second the motion.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Shareholders should please vote by raising their right hands. All shareholders in favor of the motion, please raise their hands. Thank you. All shareholders who are voting against the motion should raise their right hands. Based on the vote, I declare that this resolution has been carried, and I will like to hand over back to the chairman to continue with the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Demola. Debt issuance program. As you are aware, the Central Bank of Nigeria recently reviewed the minimum capital requirement for commercial and merchant banks in a circular dated 28 March 2024. The CBN has itemized various options on how financial institutions can comply with the requirement of raising additional capital to meet up with the new minimum capital threshold based on license or authorization held by the institution. The option chosen by management include a debt issuance program as well as additional equity raise, for which the approval of shareholders is required. I'd like to call on the Secretary to read the subjoined resolutions relating to the issuance of debt capital.
Resolution that subject to any required regulatory approvals and pursuant to Article 1 of the company's Articles of Association, the directors be and are hereby authorized to establish a debt issuance program in an amount of up to 400 billion naira. B, that the directors be and are hereby authorized to execute and enter into all such agreements, deeds and notices and documents as may be necessary for or incidental to the company's 400 billion naira program.
I hereby move the motion and call on someone to second the motion. Should I take a point of order? Can I finish reading, please? I hereby move the motion and call on someone to second the motion who should state his or her name. The lady in orange.
Hi, I'm Mrs. Orimoloye Oluyemisi.
It will come to you.
Hello, I'm Mrs. Orimoloye Oluyemisi. I second the motion.
Thank you. Shareholders should please vote by raising your right hand. All shareholders in favor of the motion, please raise your right hand. All shareholders who are voting against the motion, please raise your right hand. Based on the vote, I declare that the resolution has been carried. Additional equity capital. I would like to call on the Secretary to read out the subjoined resolution related to the additional equity capital raise.
Okay. Subject to receipt of any required regulatory approvals and pursuant to Clause 7 of the company's Memorandum of Association, the directors be and are hereby authorized to raise additional equity capital of up to 150 billion naira by way of rights issue or offer for subscription on such terms, tranches, and conditions and dates as may be determined by the directors. In the event of an undersubscription to any rights issue or offer for subscription, the directors are authorized to offer such unsubscribed shares first to interested existing shareholders, and where following such offer, any portion of the shares remain unsubscribed, then the directors are hereby authorized to offer such unsubscribed shares that may be outstanding to interested investors on similar terms as the rights issue or offers of subscription. C, that in accordance with the Article 6 of the company's Articles of Association, the board be and is hereby authorized unconditionally to exercise the powers conferred on them by the said Article 6, as may from time to time be varied, so that to the extent and in the manner determined by the directors, the holders of ordinary shares in the company may be permitted to elect to receive new ordinary shares in the company credited as fully paid instead of whole or part of the cash dividends, including interim dividends paid by directors or declared by the company in general meeting, as the case may be, from the date the resolution is passed until the earlier of 5 years from the passing of this resolution until the annual general meeting of 2029 occurs. D, directors be and are hereby authorized to issue such new ordinary shares or make such allotments of shares or approve any allotment of proposals as may be deemed necessary and expedient, to give effect to the above resolution, subject to obtaining the approvals of the relevant regulatory authorities. That directors be authorized to enter into any agreement or execute any document necessary to give effect to the above resolutions. F, the directors be and are hereby authorized to appoint such professional parties and advisors to perform all such acts and do all such other things as may be necessary to give effect to the above resolutions.
I hereby move this motion and call on someone to second the motion.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. After so much struggling. My name is Moses Ayodele Ogundeji. I hereby second the motion.
Thank you very much. Shareholders who should please vote on this resolution by raising your right hand. All shareholders in favor of the motion, please raise your right hands. Thank you. Shareholders voting against the motion, please raise your right hands. Based on the vote, I declare this resolution carried. Special capital raise. Now that the meeting has approved the additional equity capital, we shall now move to the next item on the notice. May I call on the Secretary to read out the subjoined resolution related to share capital increase.
That following the completion of the additional equity capital raise, as contemplated above, the issued and paid up share capital of the company be increased from 6,478,498,581.5 divided into 12,956,997,163 ordinary shares of 50 kobo each to a maximum of 8,250,000,000 naira by the creation of 3,543,002,837 ordinary shares of 50 kobo each. Such new shares to rank pari passu in all respects with the existing ordinary shares in the capital of the company. B, any increases in share capital pursuant to such equity capital raise contemplated above shall be registered with the Corporate Affairs Commission in such incremental proportions or tranches as may be undertaken by the company as the board in its absolute discretion may deem necessary or desirable. And the board is hereby authorized to issue on behalf of shareholders such resolutions as may be required by the Corporate Affairs Commission in order to effect the registration of any tranche or proportion of the proposed increase in share capital. That as a consequence thereof, Clause 6 of the Memorandum of Association of the company shall be amended upon completion of each equity capital raise to reflect any new issued and paid up share capital as may be determined by directors in the absolute discretion.
Thank you very much. I hereby move the motion and call on someone to second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Prince Kole Owo. I do second the motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Shareholders should please vote. All shareholders in favor of the motion, please raise your right hands. All shareholders voting against the motion, raise your right hands. Based on the vote, I declare the resolution carried. We shall now proceed to the final item on the agenda for today's meeting. The item relates to transactions with related parties or interested persons. As you may be aware, the rules of NGL's Regulations Limited governing transactions with related parties or interested persons provides that any interested person transaction of a value equal to or more than 5% of the group latest audited net tangible assets will require minority shareholders' approval for such interested person transaction. Given the foregoing, your board is proposing that the company and its related entities, the group, be granted a general mandate for 1 year in respect of all recurrent transactions entered into with related party or interested persons provided such transactions of a revenue or trading nature or are necessary for the company's day-to-day operations. It is important to note that the related parties will not be voting on this resolution. These transactions are contained in the General Mandate Circular, which is contained in the annual report circulated with the notice of the meeting. The circular was also published on the website for viewing by shareholders. I now call on the Secretary to read the resolution.
That in compliance with the rules of NGX Regulations Limited governing transactions with related parties or interested persons, the company and its related entities be and adhere mandate in respect of all transactions entered into with a related party or interested person, provided such transactions are of a revenue or trading nature or are necessary for the company's day-to-day operations. This mandate shall commence on the date on which this resolution is passed and shall continue to operate until the date on which the next annual general meeting is held in 2025.
I hereby move the motion.
My name is Ayanwamide Victoria Bola. I rise to second the motion.
Thank you. Shareholders should please vote by raising your right hands. All shareholders in favor of the motion, please raise your right hands. Thank you. All shareholders voting against the motion, raise your right hands. Based on the vote, I declare that the resolution has been carried. In the absence of any other item of business, I would like to close the meeting and thank shareholders, regulators, stakeholders, board and management of the company for taking time from their very busy schedule to attend the meeting. The AGM is now closed.
My name is Aisha. I stay in Zaria. The name of my school is Judy Primary School. I'm 4. I'm 13 years old.
My name is Adamu Bello. I am from Sabongari, Kaduna State. Aisha is my younger sister. When she was younger, she started having serious fever. We took her to the hospital. Drip was administered to her. After the drip, we noticed that her legs started to swell up. It also started turning black and thereafter dry up. We didn't know what caused her legs to dry up. So to avoid spreading further, the doctors amputated both legs. After the operation, she became depressed. She stopped associating or playing with her siblings. Even to go to school, someone had to carry her to school. Most times, she feels pain on the legs. We got solution through Musa. Musa was the person that introduced us to Ifian Health. They told us about the Stanbic IBTC program. Stanbic Education.
Stanbic IBTC took responsibility of me 3 years ago.
We are happy that she got an artificial leg because the leg is helping her to go to school, do house chores at home, and other activities.
Her artificial leg is really helping her because she used that leg, she can play with the leg. So Aisha, she is really trying. I would like to appreciate Stanbic IBTC Bank for sponsoring Aisha Abdurrahman for her education and her artificial leg.
I am happy about this leg. I can now wash, I can sweep, mop, and I can also move around to near and far places, and I can also go to school.
We are very excited and grateful